All right, what happened with these USA 4x1s at the Paris Olympic Games? Listen, there were some highlights, there were some lowlights. The men's were the lowlights, the women's were the highlights. Let's dive into it all. We're going to start off with those men. Now, this unfortunately did not go the way that Team USA was looking forward to. First in the heats, we saw Christian Coleman pass to Fred Kerley, who passed to Kyrie King, who passed to Courtney Lindsay. Very comfortable. They were able to qualify into the final. No issues. Look at the team that they have here. Christian Coleman, Kyrie King, as well as Courtney Lindsay, they all trained together under Dennis Mitchell in Florida. Fred Kerley and Christian Coleman, they actually ran that 1-2 combination in Budapest last year. Also, we had seen some pictures, coming out from Los Angeles where Fred Kerley and Kyrie King were training. Also down in Florida, you had, again, this group with like Dennis Mitchell, they all trained together. Noah Lyles is literally down the block from, Dennis Mitchell's group training with Lance Brahman. So they're all able to get some practice in. Additionally, prior to the Paris Olympic Games, they all came in early and they got a lot of practice in. So let me be very clear. Practice was not an issue. Practice was not an issue when it came to these relays. They were ready. Obviously, there were some mishaps. But let's talk about what actually happened in this race. Let's dive into, how it kind of unfolded, some of the changes that they made, why they made them, and some of my opinions as to what they could have potentially done different. Again, I'm not a relay coach. This is just my personal opinion. Now, we all know that Noah Lyles, coming off the 200, he caught COVID, so he had to pull out of the relay. He's no longer competing at the Olympic Games. So that left an opening because in the final, you were, on paper, supposed to have Christian Coleman to Fred Kerley to Kenny B to Noah Lyles. So Noah Lyles was going to anchor, but you were going to keep the first two legs the same. Once Noah Lyles pulled out, they made a switch. And the switch that they made for the final was going to be Christian Coleman handing off to Kenny B, handing off to Kyrie King, handing off to Fred Kerley. In my opinion, there's already a red flag here. But let's talk about what actually happened in the race. In the race, Christian Coleman from the start gets out like a rocket. That's always going to happen, right? Christian Coleman is easily one of the best, if not the best starter in the world for any 100-meter sprinter. Always going to get out excellent from the gun. Now, he's running up to the first exchange, running up to handoff to Kenny B. Kenny B just goes out way too early. Just straight up, just goes out way too early. Now, I don't know exactly why. I have a theory. I have some thoughts, but let's just set the standard. He went out way too early. So by the time that he's already into his running, you can see in the video Christian Coleman kind of yelling out, say, I don't know what he's saying, obviously, but he's yelling out for, Kenny B to be able to either slow down or whatever it may be. Kenny B reaches the end of the zone, and at that point, Christian, he's slowing down, and then Christian Coleman just runs right up on him, gets the baton into his hand, but it looks like they're already out of the zone, so they eventually do get DQ'd. Whatever. Kenny B, he gets a baton, he runs his leg, hands off to Kyrie King, runs his leg, hands off to Fred Kerley, runs his leg. There was a moment that Fred Kerley had the baton, and even though he was a little far back, I did actually think that he might be able to have it. There was a moment I thought he might be able to get some guys, but obviously he wasn't able to. And again, on that first exchange, they already got DQ'd because they were out of the zone. So that was that. Now, on that last leg, I do want to note that I asked Fred Kerley in the mix zone after they came down after the final, and this is actually what he said. The last leg when you got the baton, you were still kind of in it. What was kind of going on?
You got to be in it. Like, if we don't get into the thing, we're not in it. We're here to compete, and that's what we do best.
So, short and sweet, he said that he's always trying to be in it. They didn't want to, they're going to fight to the end. So, shout out to Fred Kerley. Shout out to the entire team for putting in the work. Now, one issue that I see is this relay lineup where Christian Coleman to Kenny B to Kyrie King to Fred Kerley. In my opinion, you should have kept the first two legs, Christian Coleman to Fred Kerley. That should have stayed consistent. They did it in the heats. They did it in Budapest last year, and we know that it at least works, right? Then you should have also kept Kenny B on the third leg. Kept in the sense that, that was originally intended to be that relay, right? We're going to have Christian Coleman to Fred Kerley to Kenny B to Noah Lyles. Keep that same three that was intended for the final so they can just continue with that continuity. They've gotten tons of practice in. They've been able to work together. They've been able to get ready for a moment like this. And that was going to hopefully make it happen. Then on that anchor, instead of Noah Lyles, just keep Courtney Lindsay, right? Just keep the guy who'd been anchoring in the heats here, make sure that he just holds it down, and then you're able to just keep going. So for the most part, I think they should have kept that lineup to not, present the opportunity of, Kenny B running on the second leg, Fred Kerley running on the last leg, switching things up, et cetera, et cetera. I know a lot of people like to say that Fred Kerley, he can't, receive properly and then hand off properly because he's doing two exchanges. I don't think that's too much of an issue. Yes, you're not maybe going to have absolute perfect handoffs, but I think that Fred Kerley was perfect on that second leg. On top of that, I know some people are saying that Kenny B did excellent on the back straight when we're talking about the world relays, right? Both in the heats and the finals, he was able to run immaculate, second legs. And he even said it when I got a chance to speak with him on the City of Smack podcast, right after the Olympic trials. He said that he wants that second leg. That second leg is his. And I understand that. But the one thing that I'm kind of thinking about, again, I don't have insight into the relay camp and the relay training. Like Christian Coleman and Fred Curley, they had that, practice locked down already, right? Considering Noah had to drop out, it's possible that Christian Coleman and Kenny B didn't get to practice as much. But that was asked in the mix zone after the race. This is what Christian Coleman said.
How much practice did y'all have?
We practiced a lot. I mean, me and Kenny have been competitors, but also teammates a few times over the years. And we felt really confident going out there. And, heat of the moment, it just didn't happen this time.
So I'm going to take that at face value that they have been able to practice a lot, right? They do train together under Dennis Mitchell. They're teammates. They're obviously competitors or whatever, but they've been able to train together. Again, I don't know how much training they have been able to get together on that specific lineup. When I did go to World Relays and I at least spoke with Michelle Lewis-Freeman as well as Mike Marsh, they did say that they, practice 4 different lineups and for different kinds of exchanges and different kind of zones, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know. Again, I think the Noah Lyles dropping out of the relay kind of threw things into whack. But again, I think they should have stuck with Christian Coleman, Fred Curley, Kenny B, and then just keep Courtney Lindsay. That probably would have produced the best relay. Now, again, who knows what may have happened, right? The baton is always going to present some issues, but this is really unfortunate for the United States. They, again, don't get onto the podium at the Olympic Games since, 2004? That was the last time they got onto the podium, and at that time, they got the silver medal. 2000, they actually got the gold medal. Last time the United States got the gold medal. So, relay issues for the United States. Man, I don't know what this means, but listen, it's really disappointing. It's really unfortunate that, they had to kind of go through this where, they got the chance to practice so much. They got a chance to really prepare for this moment, and it didn't go their way. I do want to give a huge shout out to all 4 of those guys. Well, all 5 of those guys, right? Christian Coleman on the leadoff, Kenny B on the second leg, Kyrie King on the third leg, Fred Curley on the anchor, and then, of course, Courtney Lindsay on the anchor in the heat. Listen, regardless of what actually happened, they all put in some serious work. They all made sure that they came out for practice when the practice was needed, and they all, made sure they got on the track when the time was right. Yes, they may not have executed and delivered, but listen, they deserve some props for even just putting in that work. So shout out to all those guys. Results, Canada, they got the win. Man, this was kind of crazy where Canada, they really, to a degree, they kind of upset because they weren't looking as great. From what I remember, they actually were the last qualifier to get into the final. Yeah, they ran 38.39 in the heats to get into the final. They were the slowest team to be able to qualify into the final, but they got the win here running 37.50 seconds. Season's best, not, one of the fastest times ever or whatever it is, but amazing performance for all these guys, right? Aaron Brown, Jerome Blake, Brendan Rodney, Andre DeGrasse, they really showed up and they really showed out. Shout out to Jerome Blake. Somebody asked him something about the United States in the mix zone, and listen, he harkened back to World Relays when Noah Lyles, said,
rivalry between yourselves and Canada. Is that something that we can look forward to going forward?
Rivalry between who?
Canada and yourself. That's a budding rivalry that we want to look at.
Who?
Canada.
Who? Jerome Blake said,
the Americans did what we've seen them do many times before. They kind of...
I got one thing to say, and this is Canada who? Canada who?
That's for Noah.
Canada who? Canada who? Listen, they got the gold medal. This is kind of crazy where Andre DeGrasse at this point has now been able to medal at the past 3 Olympic Games. 2016, he got the bronze medal in the 100, as well as the silver medal in the 200, as well as a bronze medal in the 4x1. 2021, he got the gold medal in the 200, bronze medal in the 100, and then a silver medal in the 4x1. Here in 2024, Andre DeGrasse has a gold medal in the 4x1. Check out the video that I did on Andre DeGrasse. He is one of the most consistent sprinters across the board. Yes, he didn't get an individual medal here, but he delivered. Also, shout out to Aaron Brown. He's been a workhorse. I think 2012 was his first Olympic Games. He is now getting another Olympic medal. Shout out to Aaron Brown. Again, Jerome Blake, Brendan Rodney, all in the mix there. Some really, really amazing performances. And in the silver medal position, South Africa came up and showed out. 37.57 seconds for an African record in the 4x1. This is an amazing performance. Most notably, Akani Simbine ran on this team. He anchored this team to a silver medal. This is Akani Simbine's first ever Olympic medal. this is an amazing performance for Akani Simbine. As I've said multiple times here, Akani Simbine is low-key one of my favorite athletes. He's been competing for so many years in this sport. I think 2015 might have been his first global championships, might have been 2016, but 2015, 2016, around that time, 2016, right, he started to make the 100-meter finals, and that's when kind of the 4th, 5th places started to come into play. Even at these Olympic Games, he got 4th place in the final, missing it by, what, 1/100th of a second, or one or 2/100th of a second to miss the podium. He finally got his podium spot. Again, doesn't matter if it's a relay. Akani Simbine finally got that medal. Huge shout outs to Akani Simbine and the South African team. And then Great Britain and Northern Ireland. They were able to get the bronze medal. Jeremiah Azu, Louis Hinchcliffe, Nathaniel Mitchell-Blake, as well as Zarnell Hughes. Bronze medal running 37.61 seconds. So this was an amazing race for all these guys. And again, United States, they just did not deliver. But let's switch over to the women's side. Women, oh, man, this is what I've been saying for so many years. The United States women know how to deliver when it counts the most. Honestly, I'm going to say it. I don't care what their handoffs look like. They got the baton around. They crossed the line first. They got, they were able to succeed. They were actually able to get a medal and successfully get the baton around. Yes, nothing's going to be perfect. I think it was like pouring rain at the point that the women were running. When the men ran, it wasn't, I don't know if it was still raining, but regardless, they got the baton around. The last time that the United States women did not end up on a podium at either the Olympic Games or the World Championships was all the way back in 2009. We're talking about 15 years ago was the last time that the United States women did not get on the podium. And in 2009, that wasn't even a baton issue. That was Muna Lee on 3rd leg actually pulling up and I think straining her hamstring or pulling her hamstring or something like that. So that wasn't a baton issue. That was just an injury, right? 2008, they actually had a baton issue, right? They, on the final exchange, they actually dropped the baton to Lauren Williams. So listen, the women deliver. The women deliver. Now, like I said in the previous video, between TT Terry to Gabby Thomas, they had some issues where, Gabby went out a little bit early, but TT was able to get the baton to her. Same thing happened here a little bit, not to the same degree, but they were able to execute that handoff. Obviously, the final handoff was the, more concerning handoff where Gabby Thomas to Sha'Carri Richardson. It looked like Gabby kind of ran up a little bit on Sha'Carri, or they weren't able to actually get the baton in immediately. But regardless, they ended up getting the baton. At that point, when Sha'Carri got the baton, they were a little bit behind. You had Great Britain with Daryl Nita. She was ahead of them. And then I also think Germany was ahead of them as well. But Sha'Carri Richardson, obviously, she's the most talented athlete, on that anchor leg. And she was able to really just kind of, run her race and be able to, go for the gold medal. So huge shout outs to the women. I don't have too much to critique about them because nothing is going to be perfect. Yes, I can nitpick and say, oh, you should do this and you should do that. But at the end of the day, they are making it onto the podium. Think about all the previous championships where the United States really wasn't even supposed to win gold. 2022, quote unquote, not supposed to, because on paper, a team like Jamaica is significantly faster. But they were able to execute and get the gold medal. 2023, you can argue that maybe, United States and Jamaica are a little bit more evenly matched, but they were able to deliver, get the gold medal, and they have been running extremely fast times. There's a reason that the United States has the world record. There's a reason that the United States has a #2 time all time from Rio 2016, right? There's a reason that the United States has a #4 all time from Budapest 2023, right? Jamaica does have #3 all time, but again, we're talking about the United States here when the women, I guess there's one thing that kind of frustrates me a little bit where the women tend to get lumped in with the men, where it's like United States has baton issues. The United States can't pass a baton. That is only applicable to the United States men for the most part, right? When we're talking about the Olympic Games and et cetera, et cetera. The women do not have that issue. The women always execute. Yes, it may not be absolutely perfect handoffs, but they always execute. From 2011 to 2024, the United States women have been on every single relay podium. Point blank, period. Shout out to Michelle Lewis-Freeman as she is making sure that her athletes are ready and capable of executing when it matters the most. Women's 4x1, they absolutely delivered. Second place, huge shout outs to Great Britain. You saw Dean Asher Smith kind of cooked on her leg. She cooked on her leg, on that first leg. Amazing race on her first leg. Imani Lansiquat, Amy Hunt, and Daryl Nita. Shout out to Daryl Nita getting on that podium. She had a lot of disappointment because she missed the podium in the 100, finishing 4th place, missed the podium in the 200, finishing 5th place, but she was able to get a silver medal here. Huge shout outs to all the women who were able to compete. Germany getting that bronze medal. They also delivered. This was a really, really great race across the board. But let me know what you think about the 4x1s with the men. Let me know what you think about the order that they chose to use, you know, when they had to drop Noah, you know, after he got sick. Do you think it was the right order? Do you think there's things they could have changed? And I also want you all to kind of really put into perspective, you know, the baton changes and the baton handouts and the mistakes that were made, right? Acknowledge that, at least me. I know some of you definitely are, but I'm not a coach, right? So I'm not going to be able to say that, oh, you should fix exactly this or you should fix exactly that. Obviously, I'm saying that Kenny B went out a little bit early, but I'm not going to get super technical. Just like I'm not going to get technical with the women where, yes, Gabby Thomas and Sha'Carri Richardson, they didn't have a perfect handoff, but there's things that they could actually improve, but they got on the podium, right? Getting the gold medal, at the end of the day, that's what absolutely matters. So let me know what you think. Always appreciate y'all. Definitely check out Torch Talk. Definitely check out Good Morning Track and Field. We're coming up to the end of the Olympic Games. Only, what, 1 day left? It's going to be super fun, y'all. Always appreciate it. Thanks for watching.